Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got a new video talking really in depth about a card that got revealed about a week ago, couple days ago, Revolution Synchron. It's a really powerful generic tuner monster that I do think will see some application in the TCG here and there. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be legit top tier meta, but I do think there will be a handful of at least rogue decks that come out that are able to utilize this card, and we'll talk about all the options this card has, at least that I've noticed on the surface level. Could take definitely a little bit more grinding, deeper diving to see really where this card can take a couple of different decks, but it is a really good card at the end of the day, and we'll be talking about it here. So we're going to read over it real quick just to make sure we know what's going on with the card itself. We're going to talk about the monsters it can help you make, and then I'll actually throw out two options at you that I think have some really good potential, and I'll even show a quick little combo tutorial I did with each of them to kind of give you an idea of how he's going to function for them. So let's get into it. This is Revolution Synchron. He is new Yusei support. When I first saw him, I only kind of reacted to him as Yusei, like Synchron support. But as I thought about it, he's much more generic than that. He applies to a lot other decks. And so that's what we're focusing on here. So he is a Earth Machine Tuner, level 3, 900 attack, 1400 defense. His effect reads: if you would synchro summon a power tool synchro monster or a level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster, this card in your hand can also be used as material. You can only use this effect once per turn. It's very, very cool. It's essentially what the mini coders in the Code Talker archetype do, allow you to link from hand. It's the same thing. He just synchros from hand. You don't even have to worry about extending him onto the field. It's very nice. Secondly, if this card is in your graveyard and you control a level 7 or higher synchro monster, I don't know, like the one you just fucking made with him with the first effect, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card, but its level becomes 1. This effect is a hard once per duel. Very, very powerful effect to come back. Not only is the mill a bonus in a lot of different decks, but also just coming back for free, and he sets himself up. The first effect guarantees you have a 7 or 8 on field, unless, of course, your opponent removed it, but at that point, it is what it is. You are probably not in the best situation regardless. And he comes back as a level 1 to allow you to make an 8 or a 9 synchro play, which is very cool. So really powerful card, just a tuner that extends from hand very easily and then brings himself back for another kind of synchro up potential. Very, very powerful card. But of course we need to look at these options because he is a little bit pigeonholed, kind of like the mini coders. They only let you link into Code Talkers. This guy only lets you make power tools or 7 or 8 dragon synchros. So that's what we're looking at here for its main options. Of course, the power tools, I actually think they're not even bad. There could be something here. Maybe there's a world where there's an Infernoble Knight deck down the line where, just using this guy to extend into power tool or braver at certain points in game states to allow you to keep playing could be pretty cool, especially braver. Because if you just have any 6 on field, you can use Revo to make Braver, and then Braver gets you 3 equips, which, we've been seeing, like Mikanko as a potential splash, so you could literally get Arabesque to summon from deck. You could get, is Arabesque the one that summons? Whatever, the one that summons from deck, straight equipped from deck. You could get Durendal, which is going to search you an Infernoble, and get, like, another one, maybe, like, one of the Reborn equips or something that is fine. That would be insane. But this guy's also just an interruption anyway, so yeah, some pretty cool applications there. From there, we move to the main card I want to focus on today, Ancient Fairy Dragon. This card will come off the ban list very soon with its new errata. I still think it's really powerful. I think it might be fair enough to not need to be banned again, but it's powerful nonetheless, and I do think it will see some play here and there in like the right kinds of decks. It's very powerful, lets you search any field spell from deck and extend any monster from hand. Very, very good. Shooting Riser is another interesting one, although it does miss out on a couple different synergies. He lowers his level by dumping a monster, and so that way he won't be level 7, so Revo won't be able to reborn himself with that. But he does get you a Foolish Burial for any monster in your deck. It just can't use its effects that turn, so there's still some cool stuff there. He also does a quick synchro on the opponent's turn, so there is some potential there, maybe in like a very specific list, but like where you've kind of worked out everything else there. Black Rose is actually pretty cool because just any 4 plus Revo attempts to wipe your opponent's board, And if your opponent does have a negate, but it's like an impermish negate, I think about like Chi-Jiao, Imperm, Suliak for Tier Limit, and Black Rose stays on the field, that's just your level 7 Synchro. So now you can just Reborn Revo, make a Synchro 8. Boom, continue to threaten the board. That's pretty cool. That's a good application, I think. And then Moonlight's kind of one of the in-betweens. It's like a fine removal on summon. It's a fine interruption, but it's only when level 5 or higher monsters are special summoned to your opponent's field. So it's just okay. It's you know, whatever. It's a fine card. And then same thing with Clearwing Synchro. They've never really made a level 7 Synchro that's been super good generically as an interruption, which is fine because they're probably the easiest Synchros to make. But yeah, Clearwing, he's just a level 5 or higher monster negate. I guess versus stuff like Kashtira, though, that definitely has some value. But yeah, that's cool. Then for the 8s, Chaos Ruler is banned in the TCG, but it's not in the OCG. So I could see a world where Revolution Synchron ends up helping them abuse this card even more. Like it could be an Ancient Fairy Dragon deck where then you also like Synchro up using Revo and Ancient Fairy into Chaos Ruler, and then also dig your deck for like more, you know, extendability and or hand traps or whatever, which is very powerful. This card's insane. Borreload Savage Dragon, you have to put a Link Engrave before you can do this, so it doesn't fully work like straight up immediately on its own, but I'm sure there could be combos where you could get a Link Engrave before you attempt to make this guy, so that's fine. Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, this card kind of has a similar thing with Borreload Savage, where this card on summon reborns any level 2 or lower tuner from grave, and obviously you have to get a level 2 or lower tuner engrave for that to be a thing. So if you can't do that, then you know, that's annoying. But maybe if you already used a level 2 or lower tuner to make like a 5, and then you used Revo to climb up into this guy, that could be something. And then this guy has some really cool other effects as well. Crystal Wing, this one actually will come up a lot because in the Ancient Fairy style deck, this one seems to be the best just generic 8 that you make Ancient Fairy, you Reborn Revo, and you go into this guy. And he's just a good monster negate. He's a good card. Scarlight, another really good going second option. You know, just an 8 instead of a 7 like Black Rose. And he doesn't kill himself, so you still keep the body, which is nice. And then we get to the 2 options that I think are the most interesting here. The first one is Invoked. This is a field spell archetype, perfect for Ancient Fairy, and it gets a level 4, which makes you know, Revo plus the level 4 that the deck searches very consistently into a 7 Ancient Fairy. Very cool. Very good synergy. The other one is ABCs. Same thing. Field spell deck, getting field spell consistently. Normal summon is a level 4, so then that opens you up for Revo plays. And they just do a bunch of floating, and I'll show you 2 little combos here to kind of end it out here. The first one is going to be the Revo ABC combo. I still think this one has potential, just in the sense that this was a somewhat competitive deck a couple formats ago in the TCG, but you know, as we've seen with post Power of the Elements, this deck has kind of been phased out. And I think part of that is because it had to play a lot of different bricks in the deck, but now you don't have to play as many bricks, or at least not straight up, you don't have to play as many bricks. But I think Ancient Fairy plays as well as Revolution Synchron plays could make the deck a lot smoother as far as like having extenders and playing through interruption. Sometimes the deck would just lose to like 1 or 2 pieces of interruption, and I think it's better at playing through that. So let's take a look here. This is just opening your standard field spell Union Hanger, kind of up in the top there. My apologies. Plus opening Revolution Synchron as an extender. So let's start it off here. We're going to activate the Hanger. We're going to grab a B. We're going to normal summon B. We're going to use Hanger to equip. You have to use the 1 driver because it's going to help you get an extra body on field. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to extend with ABCs otherwise. So then we use driver to re-equip an A. We're going to special A. Then we're going to go ahead and use Revolution Synchron for Ancient Fairy. B is going to search. Revo is going to reborn itself. Ancient Fairy is going to pop this field spell to grab Ethereal Disc Coliseum. Then we can go ahead and use Ancient Fairy to extend Sea Crush Wyvern from hand. We're going to use the Revolution Synchron plus the Ancient Fairy for Crystal Wing. That's really nice. So now we are under a protection. In fact, we could have even made Regulus earlier too. You know, even before we got to this point. And then, of course, we're going to summon the Regulus. You equip the B. Oh, you can extend with the B. That's another really cool thing, that Regulus can equip the ABC pieces, and then they can just summon themselves again and keep extending. I didn't end up doing anything here. Keep in mind that if you go back here You still have all 3 of these bodies, so you could just like make an IP Masquerena if you want. You know, there's definitely some other things you can do here. You could even make an IP. Well, I guess that doesn't really work that way. I mean, you can make an IP. There's technically a line where you could extend into like a 2-mat Appaloosa as well, but we already have Monster Negate, Omni Negate, so I'm not as worried about that. I'd probably make an IP just to have an extra removal effect, but yeah, still really strong here because I just used them for the ABC, and then of course, you know, you have the ABC. So you've got the Quick Banish, the Omni Negate, and the Monster Negate, and you probably should have had an IP as well. I just didn't put IP in the extra deck before the combo. But that's really strong off of 2 cards. It's also important to note that, like, if you went Union Hanger, searched B, I mean, I guess ABC is different because it's harder to hand trap them. People are probably going to Ash Blossom the field spell, but then you just punish them with any ABC piece, and that's pretty solid. So that gives you already a little bit of insight there. It's going to be kind of a similar situation going on here. I think there are a couple functions separately as how this deck actually plays into hand traps. But yeah, so we start with Meltdown here with the invoked version. We're going to grab Alistair. We're going to normal Alistair. And this is an important thing, because if you do get hand trapped on Alistair, Ash, Veiler, Imperm, you just do all the rest of your combo. You just don't end on Macabre. But you get everything else, which is really cool. So it does pretty cleanly play through getting hand trapped. So we'll Alistair, grab Invocation. We'll make Ancient Fairy. We will use Ancient Fairy to pop the field spell to grab Disc Coliseum again. We're going to see some very cool synergies here as well. I would advise at certain points using Revolution first to see what you mill, because if you do play a Therian package and you play multiple Regulus, if you do mill a Regulus, you're going to be able to Regulus attach Regulus, which gives you 2 negates, which is pretty good. So yeah. But yeah, so we're going to mill. We're going to go ahead and keep going here. We're going to mill to Reborn. We're going to go ahead and activate Coliseum for Regulus. We're going to summon that Regulus. And again, Revolution itself is a machine. So even if you didn't mill that Regulus like I did and attach it, you could have just attached the Revolution Synchron once you synchroed it off for the Crystal Wing. So not a problem at all. The synergy's still there. And then we'll finish up with Invocation, getting us Macabre, and then using Invocation to get Alistair back to hand. So very similar thing going on here. We're going to end on the Regulus negate. We're going to end on the Crystal Wing negate. We're going to have Macabre with an Alistair in hand. And of course, keep in mind this was a 2-card combo, so there should be 3 other cards in our hand. So that could be spells to make Macabre a more diverse negate. You also have Disc Coliseum, where depending on how big your Therian package is, you would want to be careful and make sure the synergy is there where you want it. But, you know, you also do get some value off of this still being on the field. So, really powerful. And like I said, even if you got hand-trapped on Alistair, you would still be able to end on the Crystal Wing and the Regulus, regardless. Which is really cool. That's a pretty clean way to play through an interruption on a 2-card combo. So, yeah, I really think there's some good potential here. I think... you know, I'm sure there's other ways. There's other field spell decks that, like, end up with 4s on field. So I think about, like, potentially Trick Stars, right? Just, like, light stage grab Candina. Candina is a level 4, can get you the trap. And then you have the trap plus, you know, potentially extending into, you know, a Therian line as well. You know, and then have a negate plus the trap plus Crystal Wing is actually still fine as well. So there's multiple options out there. We will really have to see where we end up with everything, but I'm excited to kind of move forward with this and really mess around with the potential. But of course, guys, if there are any other applications that kind of hit you while we were going over this card or that you had already thought of, please let me know in the comment section down below, or any other combo lines that you think are really interesting that I'm just showing kind of like the base level, like first thing that hit me kind of thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down below. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching as always. Subscribe if you haven't. You want to see more stuff from your boy down the line. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.